So I thought I would share an artist that I grew up listening to. It wasn't this album specifically that I grew up with, but her music still holds up to this day, in my opinion, and that would be Avril Lavigne. Now, I grew up with songs like Skater Boy, Complicated, and I'm With You. Those were the songs that were playing in the classrooms or when I went to friends' houses, things like that. And I actually do have the CD as well, but she's just an artist that I grew up listening to, has always had that sort of goth aesthetic going with her, and that's kind of just been her entire like vibe, not her personality per se, but her public image has always been that sort of gothic styling, which works very well for her, and she continues to utilize it. I mean, look at this. You have her sitting down in a very red room with all black clothes pretty much, and then just some black balloons, and then at the top you have Avril Lavigne Love Sucks, which is the title of this album, and it's done in the goth stylization, so it just kind of all comes together nicely. Then you have the shadows of the balloons in the background, which I like. And I find it funny that she could have dyed her hair black for this photo shoot, but she decided to keep that contrast, which I think kind of works to her advantage here. And then the side of the case does have the transparency, which I really do like, and it continues to have the balloons on the side as well. They don't look 3D like the other one tried to accomplish, but I still think this works nonetheless because it's better than absolutely nothing, and I'll always take, an attempt over anything. And honestly, this is a little bit better than an attempt. This is actually some quality in my opinion because it just kind of continues that balloon design. Kind of cool, even though it is a bit cut off, but regardless. As for the side or the spine of the CD, pretty basic. It does have her gothic styling for the font of Love Sucks, and then just has Avril Lavigne and her personal styling right there, whatever. And then it's pretty much just all red after that. Then you just have the records label, sticker, so nothing too crazy there. And then you open it up, and what I like about this packaging is that it does what that Taylor Swift CD did as well, which is it takes the CD and it matches it up with the background so that if you take the CD out, the background is still there. And I really like that because it kind of helps you differentiate when the CD is in the case versus when it's not, but also it just looks really cool. The disc itself just has the balloons and the records label sticker right there, but I really do like that it, matches up directly with the background itself. I think that's really cool, and it's sticking with that red color theme. It does kind of look cracked when you look at it for like a second at first until you realize those are just the balloon strings, which is kind of funny because anytime I look at it, I'm like, wait, is it cracked? And it's not, so it's kind of funny. And here it is without the CD in there, and you can see the obvious difference being that the record label sticker is not there. And then on the left hand side you have her paperwork. Now, I'll be honest, I am a bit of a fan of how they did this paperwork. Because at first it's like, okay, so they just kind of did the standard lyrics and all that. See all the lyrics right there for the song. And then this song. And obviously they have this completely dry spot that they could have filled with a photo, which is really unfortunate that they didn't. And then on the next page you do get an image, which we will get to in just a second here. But you do have the Bite Me lyrics, which completely fill up the page alongside some of the credits at the bottom here. But they do include a photo on this page, which is kind of cool looking. It's not just a basic photo either. They seem to have put a little bit of effort, and you can see that the credits here are actually below her body, which is nice that they didn't just try to slap the text on. Like, they had to do that for the lyrics here, which is fine, but this is its own entity, and so it kind of makes sense that it's separate from her body and not just blended in. And then on the next page, they actually have the balloons on the Love Sucks side, which is kind of cool, keeping that theme going, but they're not using that same picture every single time. And so they don't have to fill up the right side there because they did the balloons, and I think that would be a little bit overkill. But then on this side, they have another picture of her in that same box room, so it does work pretty well. And then you have the next page, which you could argue that she's really not doing anything different for each of the pages here. She's just sitting in the same room, just doing different poses. But if you look closely enough, you can tell that she's in the middle of three different lines of lyrics. The lyrics go down past her shoulders right here on this side and almost to her hip on this side, but then the lyrics just stop above her head there. So she kind of fits herself in the middle of all of it with the credits being underneath. So that works really well. This side doesn't have anything at all other than the color, but considering what they've done so far, I think that's okay. And then the next page has her holding the balloons in a bit of a different pose than she's done previously, but still, they've managed to make it work. and then it just continues. This one doesn't have any pictures, probably because, well, it wouldn't fit with the lyrics there, and they didn't want to cram anything in. But on this side, they do make it work again, and it's another pose. And then the paperwork ends with credits. And at least it has the balloons here, which is nice. The records label sticker there again. And then a thanks from her. And then her sitting on a stool instead of on the ground. So overall, pretty solid paperwork. And then we finish the CD off with the backside and her doing a final pose there. And here's the track list. Solid track list here. I love a lot of these songs. It's hard for me to pick a favorite on this, but if I absolutely had to, I'd probably say like Avalanche is my favorite. I don't know, but I really like a lot of these songs. Like I love Cannonball, Boys Lie, Love Sucks, Avalanche, Deja Vu, FU, all great songs. I could have named all of them, but those are just some of my favorite. So yeah, very solid album that I've been listening to again recently just because of how good her music is.